Everybody. This week we're working on game design documents, and I shared some articles for you to read about game design documents and comment on what elements you think should be contained in one. And then I wanted you to just practice making a game design document based on a game you've already played. So I'm going to post this sample game design document that comes from Trick Gaming Studios. And I thought it was a nice, simple game design document, so I'm going to post this as a Word document for you and have you fill in the parts of this game design document based on a game you've already played. So just to be clear, a game design document is a place where you to pull together your ideas, and it's sort of the planning phase. Like if you were writing a paper for an English class or for a research paper, you would create an outline ahead of time. You would do research and get all of your thoughts organized before you started creating. And this is even more important when you're doing video game design development, because there's so many technical aspects that you need to consider. So what you do is you use this game design document to get all of your ducks in a row, so to speak. So I'm going to post this template from Trick Gaming Design Studios, and I'm going to ask you to go through it one section at a time and simply fill in for a game that you've played each element of this template. So there's the product description, which is a summary of what the game is about without going into too much detail about the mechanics or anything else. So for example, this game design document describes the details for a multi-platform touch-based 2D puzzle game. So, if it's a first-person shooter, then you'll describe that in this simple project description, okay? Then the next section is going to be version history. You're not going to really need to do that because you haven't started developing yet. Here's your table of contents, and so that'll be in there, and but this should stay relatively the same. If you take elements out, you can remove them from the index. Then moving on, so characters, please describe the characters in your game. If you're doing Crash Bandicoot, then describe Crash Bandicoot. If you're doing Angry Birds, describe the Angry Birds characters under this characters section 1. Then the story. So I want you to explain, this is a game about a plumber that needs to save a princess from Bowser. Okay, so that's obviously Mario Brothers, and you could fill this in the story, and basically you'll just highlight and replace their example stuff, okay? Then the theme of the game. If it's a game about, this is a game about sadness and hardships. There are action and happy moments, but between each chapter, the story must progress. Some games are really dark, so you might put that in the theme. If it's a really lighthearted game, you might want to tell me that is more the theme. If it's a sports-themed game, you might want to tell me that under theme. Okay, story progression. So talk about how the story progresses as you go through the game. So this talks about an entry scene and a first chapter, and then there's a tutorial. So, go through just the story progression of your game in part 3. Then tell me a little bit about the gameplay. So don't make this section too huge. Just give me just sort of the gist of the gameplay for your purposes, okay? Tell me the goals of the game in section 4.1. Talk about necessary skills. So this one has drag and drop. For a first-person game, for the PC, you might say it's using the mouse. For a 2D side-scroller, you might want to talk about jumping or double jumping, some stuff like that. Then in your game mechanics, I want you to just describe your proper game mechanics. Mechanics, dynamics, aesthetics is something we talked about last week in terms of what game makes a game fun. So you might want to talk here about mechanics and then the way mechanics interact with one another in dynamics, okay? Read through the example to better understand it. Items and power-ups, right? You might say there's a mushroom that makes the character giant. There's a flower that makes the character be able to throw fire. That, again, is using the Mario example. Progression and challenge, talk about how the game gets harder and the game progresses as you go through. How do you lose the game? It's Pac-Man. You have 3 lives. Once the ghost hits you 3 times, then it's game over. Okay, the art style. Is it a stylistic, cartoonish type game or very real looking type game? Is it a 8-bit, like pixelated game? Talk about the art style there. Music and sound. Music can be super important to the game, as can sound effects. So describe the music of the game that you're describing. And then give a technical description. Give me what platforms is it on. That's a really important sort of thing. What game engine is it made with? You might know that. So let me know about that. Describe the marketing of the game a little bit. And you might not know much about funding, but if it's a game you've played, you might know where you heard of it. Is a lot of YouTube videos about it? Have you seen it advertised in magazines? Have you seen it advertised on television? Give me that sort of thing. The demographics of the game. Who are the expected players? Who plays the game that you're talking about? What platforms is it on, and how is it monetized? Is it a freemium game on an iOS platform? Is it a AAA game that you buy at GameStop and that's how they're making money? Did you get it off of Steam? So give me that sort of thing. Localization. What languages is it in? Who are the intended players of the game? Okay, and then I'm not too concerned with the other ideas. So essentially, I'm gonna put this Trix game design document template up on Blackboard for you. I want you to download this as a Word document. Then I want you to go through each section using what you know about game design documents from the articles that you read in your response section, and fill in each part of this game design document, and then upload that completed revised document to me in Blackboard. Make sure that you put your name at the top of your game design template, because they will all look quite similar. So up here somewhere, just type in something like Mr. Smith, right? That's me. So that I know whose work this is, and get that uploaded to Blackboard. I'm looking to see that you can sort of break down a game and see the elements of the game aside from just the aesthetic layer, which is what you play as a gamer. I want to see you being able to pick apart a game as a developer or designer, and that is what this assignment is intended to do. So I look forward to seeing your game design documents. As always, if you have any questions, email me right away and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Everybody's doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and I will be posting a video for you next week reviewing for your midterm, and then the midterm will be available to you in your community college's testing center for a couple of weeks for you to go in and take a proctored exam for your midterm. Thank you, and I will talk to you next week.